Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming back to Grizzly Bear Sims YouTube channel, and thank you for watching my live stream replay, if that's what you're doing, if you're going to catch it later. It is obviously, this is episode number 8, and it's Saturday morning, and it's kind of early. And I just basically couldn't sleep late today, and even though I do try to sleep in a little bit on Saturdays, I kind of woke up at regular time and sort of laid there and tossed and turned and realized that, well, that just wasn't going to do anything for me and just needed to go ahead and get up. So you might recognize the voice might be a little bit deeper this morning. It tends to be that way first thing in the mornings. The allergies are, well, they're a little bit, I'm a little bit suffering from them today. I have taken some allergy medication, so that will kick in at some point today. I don't know if it'll kick in before the live stream is over, but in any event, that is sort of the case, and that is why my voice is deep like it is. So anyway, let me just go ahead and do that because otherwise we will have some problems. So we'll just kind of spin around and do our morning ritual here, and we'll grab some eggs here from our bales here. Eggs. Good, good, good. Okay. So in the live stream, let's see, live stream number 7, we were basically doing some logging and picking up some logs and taking them to sell. And so we need to kind of continue doing that. This morning we may even have to continue doing a bit of logging. I'm going to, hopefully we have got enough. It is my hope, it is my desire that we may have enough liquid fertilizer here in our barn to actually, good morning everyone that's joining the stream. Thanks for coming by. Happy Saturday to you. Hopefully we'll have enough liquid fertilizer here to maybe do our 346 liters. There was just a smidge of liquid fertilizer left in that container, wasn't there? So let's see. Golly geez, what to do? We're going to go down and see. I would doubt very seriously if this will be enough to do this field down here. But we're going to drive him off down there. We're going to yesterday or last night in episode 7 in our stream that we did on Friday night, hired a worker and we finished, topped up the third fertilization stage on the 2 fields that we had left to do up there. We have managed somehow, I forget now how many pallets of liquid fertilizer we had when we started the map. I think it was about 3. It could have been 4, but I think it was about 3. And we have had enough, and now with 346 liters left here in the thing, and so we will just have to see. You know, there is a bit of a potential challenge here in the sense that, well, if we don't have enough, then obviously if we have to go out and rescue this guy, then you know, that's going to be a little bit of an issue. So I'm sort of thinking that maybe our best bet is to focus on going and maybe getting a container of liquid fertilizer. And let me think how might be the best way to do that. I think what we're going to do is we're going to play it smart, because I think that's going to be the best option for us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drive this slow tractor down to the store, because here's the deal. For me to get liquid fertilizer and get it back to the farm, because you can't reset materials like that, I would need to basically buy a trailer and drive down with one of these tractors anyway and pick up the liquid fertilizer and then bring it back to the main farm and then fill up the tractor obviously and then do the job that we need to do. We only need 1 pallet of liquid fertilizer. I don't even think we really need that, or I don't think we need a full one. But it is what it is, and we don't necessarily need any additional liquid fertilizer until next year, until the next game year. Now, whether or not we defer buying a trailer until next year, that I don't know yet. That's going to be yet to be determined, TBD. It's possible that we will buy a trailer, or we will need a trailer for something or another. Trying to think what that could be. Could be for hay bales. It could be if we wanted to mow some of this grass around here and produce some silage bales. So maybe try to gain a slight advantage over Farmer Klein by doing a little bit of silage bales and selling those in addition to our traditional farming. So that could be something that could be in the cards for a time frame slightly at a later date. But I think right now, even though this is probably going to take the better part of an hour of gameplay inside the virtual world to actually do this, I think it's going to be in our best bet right now to do this. I could realize that maybe this was a stupid idea, but we kind of roll with the punches and we go with things and we do things the best way that we know how. So 2,000 liters of liquid fertilizer. We're going to buy that, and the kind folks here, and let me get rid of this question mark over here. The kind folks here at the shop, and I think while we're up here, we're going to go ahead and come around back, and we're going to check and see if we can, if our memory serves us correctly, and see if we can find some of these gold nuggets that's laying around here. Can we get to that? Yep, got it. I do know that there is at least 1 gold nugget on one of these buildings, and we will worry about that at a later date, because are there any gold nuggets in these boxes? I don't think so. And at this particular point in time, I'm not going to, are there gold nuggets in there? No. But I think that there is a gold nugget in this, back over here somewhere. Right there. There is, back here in this dumpster area. And if we can get out of here okay, then that will be that. So we've collected a couple of gold nuggets by coming up here, and I'll just kind of continue to do this process, finding some gold nuggets when we're in some areas where I can sort of remember that there are some gold nuggets up here, and then just kind of make the best use of our time. We will find the gold nuggets between now and the end of our 3rd year, because that's $1 million that will come in quite handy with the challenge. And if you're new to my channel, because it's quite possible that, you know, this is kind of a completely different audience, because obviously a lot of my normal regular viewers are catching my live streams in the evenings, the Monday through Friday evenings, Saturday evenings, Sunday evenings, etc. There may be a completely different set of audience folks here for this early morning version. I am participating in a challenge. There's about 5 or 6 of us that are actively participating in this challenge. You can find all of their live streams down below in the video information down below the video. This is the Old Guy Farmer single player challenge. This is a specially edited map of Goldcrest Valley that Old Guy Farmer Jerry Ott created for this challenge, and we are using the seasons mod, and we're playing 6 game day seasons, or 6 game days per season. We are in the 2nd game day of summer, and we have to have all this done before November 1st. So that will essentially equal 72 episodes that we will have participated and played on this lovely map, this Goldcrest map. And it is a little bit different from your standard default Goldcrest Valley map, but still, it's a nice map, beautiful map, and it's rather fitting for the challenge itself. The coffee is good this morning. It is nice and strong. I made a nice triple caffeine pot of coffee this morning. Well, it's not really a pot of coffee. It's I have a Keurig machine, and so, but I get this special, I forget what it's called, but I get a special flavor of coffee that's about 3 times the normal caffeine level, and I use that, that's my special occasion, that's my special occasion coffee. And usually my special occasions occur on Monday mornings, and then I reserve that for a weekend. Okay, so let me come up here and let me turn off left shift H. Just turn off these alternative help, and it's saved. That's weird. It hasn't saved before, but that's good. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and hire our worker here to do this job. And the reason why we're hiring a worker, well, because we can, actually. That's the first thing. But then the other thing, the reason why we're hiring the worker is because there is a very small loophole in the sense that when you hire a worker to do a job on a field, there is no crop destruction. So they're sort of magical in the sense that they can basically drive around in the crops, and they don't leave any crop lines. And so we're taking advantage of that loophole. It's not anything special. It's certainly not any sort of advantage that I have that others do not have. Good morning, Simon. Old guy and myself are streaming at the same time. Yeah, I noticed that as well. I kind of got to get my streams in when I have the time, and I'm trying to still build up a little bit of a buffer because I still may have to travel. I know I have to travel at least once, and my boss threw a potential wrench into the plan yesterday afternoon, and I may have another travel opportunity coming up that I may have to participate in. And then Brian James says hello, or he says good morning, Grizz. Midnight here. Okay. Well, you must, where are you for it to be midnight? Pacific somewhere. Australia, somewhere like that, maybe. So we're just going to kind of begin this stream sort of where we ended the stream before. I think in all honesty, when we started up episode 7 yesterday, we got in here and we sort of cleared this area of trees, and we had about, I don't know, we had about $40,000, I guess, in the bank. And so we've made another, potentially another, we've made potentially another 100,000, almost 100,000. So we've still got a few more sticks in the ground that, or not sticks in the ground, but sticks laying on the ground that we're going to try to get. We may cut some more trees down. It just kind of depends, and I guess I'm just a little bit too close to that, so we're just going to leave that log right there for now. And let me make sure that start auto load, it wasn't on. It does sometimes turn itself off. I don't know why. It just, and now it's moved over there. Okay, not a problem. And let's see, Skoshki79 says he just woke up. Well, good morning to you, and I just woke up as well. And you can probably tell it. I've got the deep voice going on this morning, and it's partially due to the fact that it is early morning, and I've only been up for maybe 30 minutes or so, but also because my seasonal allergies are a little worse in the mornings. And that sort of contributes, the whole voice thing sort of contributes to that. And, well, the allergy medication will kick in at some point in time, as well as the coffee will also help to get that voice. Sort of what my wife sort of refers to as my coming out of the grave voice. Come on, little piece. I'd like to get you in the thing here. Now our strategy is, our logging strategy is sort of twofold. You may remember if you caught my stream a few days ago, and this was a stream that I sort of started logging on, and I started clearing the trees around the main farm area. That obviously, that strategic process of doing that and doing that there obviously was twofold. It was about money, but it was also about clearing the trees away from the fields around the main farm, so that once the harvest is done, once our harvest is done for this year and we're able to get in there with our harvester and collect that wheat, barley, and canola, then we're going to basically expand those fields. So that will give us a slight advantage in our second year than we had in our first year, because those fields will obviously be larger, and we would not have had to pay any additional money to make those fields larger, other than the time and effort that it will take to basically expand those fields by plowing up the ground around them and just making them a little bit larger. I don't think I'm going to combine anything necessarily. I think I'm going to continue a strategy of growing multiple things, just because that way it kind of bodes a little bit well with the fact that we will just sort of take a gamble that, you know, 1, 2, 3, or 4, or however many crops we decide to grow. Right now we're growing again, we're growing wheat, barley, canola, and soybeans. So there is a bit of a theme there, in the sense that we've chosen, at least for year one, to grow crops that all require the same combine header. So regardless of whether we actually buy a combine or we lease a combine the first year, we basically only have to buy or lease one header type. So that way we don't have to mess about with a corn type header for either corn or for sunflowers. So we're going to use everything that harvest everything that comes with, or that can be harvested with a grain header. So I don't know if that's smart, because obviously my guess is we will probably have a lot of great demands for things such as corn and such as sunflowers, but it is just the case that it is. Now, we most likely will not plant and harvest potatoes, sugar beets, those two crops, simply because those two crops it's too time consuming. It's too time consuming to plant them. It's costly as well, because we've got to get completely different piece of equipment, and it's also too slow and too costly to harvest them, because unless we go with the big harvesters, then the other harvesters are just too small. And again, it's kind of like we've got to have that other piece of kit that we've either got to rent or we've got to buy and pay the maintenance for it and all that kind of stuff. So Skusky says, I am Batman voice. Yes, something like that. I am Batman. More like my Barry White voice. And if you're a young person, you may not know who Barry White is, but he's was a very talented a singer, and I guess maybe a soul kind of singer. And so that's kind of what I say. Chris Webb, good morning, sir. Chris Webb says, hello, Mr. Grizzly and everybody. Welcome to this Saturday morning stream. Yes, welcome. Wasn't sure, Chris, when I ended the stream last night, I wasn't sure if I was going to stream or what time I was going to stream today. And I typically don't set an alarm on Saturday and Sunday mornings unless we've got something going on. And so I didn't set an alarm this morning. And I sort of told myself, okay, well, if I wake up early enough to stream, then I will stream. And we've got some honey. Well, I should say my wife has some honeydew projects that she wants me to do. And let me just stop right here right quick, and I'm going to tab into this guy down here and truly make sure that he's finished with his work, and he is. So what I'm going to do is just fold him up, and I'm not going to drive him all the way back to the farm right now because that's just going to take a little bit too much time. I can always do this at nighttime if need be, and we don't need to hire him anymore, so we can go ahead and send him off to do his stuff on whatever he's got going on his Saturday morning. And if you're new to the channel, then you might be kind of curious as to how this challenge and everything works, and everything, all the rules and everything are posted. There's a link that you can get to from the information, the content that's down below the stream, or down below the screen, the video. And you can read up on that, and there's some specific rules and or guidelines that we must follow. The participant. Sometimes this thing will grab logs from, you know, like 100 miles away. Not really, but sometimes it'll grab logs. It has a little bit wider reach than it does on other times, and so just when I think that, okay, well, it's not going to get those and I don't need to turn off auto loader, it will basically grab them from a ways away. And as I was kind of demonstrating last night, if you are moving the trailer at the same time that it's trying to load the logs, it will kind of okay, did I just potentially screw up? Not too bad. Okay, it will sort of continue to load the logs, and the logs will have a tendency to sort of kick up on that back plate back there. That back plate is our friend, though, because these logs still do slide around, and they slide around a lot more than what you might think that they would do in the real world, just simply because I personally am quite used to excuse me, I am quite used to pine trees. I've grown up around pine trees all my life, whether it be in East Texas, where we had lots of pine trees, or it be here in Colorado, where we have obviously lots of pine trees. And so I can tell you that the bark on a pine tree is actually quite it's quite grippy. You know, it's quite grippy. It's not going to, the log itself isn't going to slip around like, say, a tree that doesn't have a whole lot of bark on it, like maybe, say, I don't know, like maybe an aspen tree. All right, and as I said earlier, the coffee is good this morning. It's nice and strong. And so I'm quite enjoying it. So yeah, it probably most likely is going to be some logging this morning, cutting down some more trees. All of our fields are fertilized, all the way up to the very third level. All of our fields are plowed. Obviously, we did that before we started planting. All of our fields are seeded at some with something, and as I mentioned earlier, we're doing a combination of 4 different crops as part of our strategy, and those are wheat, barley, and canola, and then soybeans. And so obviously most of those, the wheat, barley, and canola, were all planted, I think, pretty much around the same game day. Soybeans obviously this is a long tree. Soybeans obviously were planted a little bit later. So if we do rent the combine, then obviously we're going to have the combine for multiple days, unless we return it. I don't know if there's I'll have to just kind of look at the specifics and see if there's an advantage to returning it while we wait for the soybean. The soybean will be sort of obviously the crop that will come in the last, because it was the last crop that we actually put in the ground. And soybeans have a higher temperature of germination, if that's the correct word, for the seeds and everything. So we'll just have to see. I was a little uncomfortable at selling our harvester on the first game day. I had never done that before. Never got rid of the harvester on a map and didn't without a plan of actually replacing it. But that was sort of a strategy that we were told that would benefit us, because obviously there was absolutely, and I agree with it, and I 100% think that it was the right thing to do. There was absolutely no reason to pay maintenance on the harvester for it to set in the barn for 6, 7, 8, 9 or more game days without being used. And so we would have been paying a daily maintenance cost on that combine each of those days while it sat there, and it not producing any money. Now, I sold the combine, and the selling of the combine basically allowed us to do quite a few different things. I did invest in a brand new field, and I also bought this Ponzi. Now, this Ponzi was $300 and something thousand, but it's making money. It's actually we've made a little over $200,000 off of the Ponzi, so it's almost paid for from that respect. And then the part of the deal with the challenge is that once it's all over with, once we get to essentially the last game day of winter of the third year, we basically can sell all this stuff. And so there will be some value that this equipment will have, and obviously it won't be the same value as when it was brand new, because, well, that's not how it works in the real world. But there will be some value. So if we can at least pay for this harvester, I would even go so far as to say if we could pay for this harvester like maybe twice. So in other words, if we could, throughout not only this scheme year, but even next year, and even the third year, if we choose to keep it that long, if we can basically earn 2 to 3 times what the cost of the harvester was, then obviously when we get some of the money back when we sell it, then obviously that will be a good thing. I have to. It's kind of like an airplane and an airline, and we talked a lot about flight sim last night, and I'm not going to do that this episode. But you guys know the theory that if an airplane is not, I don't know why I drove past that tree, but if an airplane's not in the air flying, the airline's not making any money. Airlines, regardless of who they are, British Airways, Southwest, American, doesn't matter. They don't make money if their airplanes are not flying. And that is just sort of the deal, and so it's sort of like with us, a combine that's sitting in a garage that's not actually harvesting is not making us any money. And I think, when the harvest season starts, obviously we are going to be focused on harvesting. We will only, do other tasks around the farm that actually truly need to be done. But we will be spending our time harvesting and all that good stuff. So this log equipment and stuff like that won't necessarily get used. But the harvest season will also, I think, kind of go kind of quick, in the sense that in the sense that we will be able to do other stuff in those days as well. This tree here, as I drive up on the rock here, this tree here looks like some of the trees here in Colorado with the beetle kill, and that's a sad thing for us here in the real life of Colorado, as well as even other portions in the Pacific Northwest. That darn beetle has been just devastating. And Rubber Butter, good morning. Yeah, my strategy is obviously not is not the same as yours. Obviously, I'm doing traditional farming, but I am taking advantage of the money that can obviously be made, and there's obviously very good money that can be made in logging. And so this is really the third day of logging with any sort of intensity, and I have made about probably about 200, maybe about 220,000 by now on the logging efforts. And as I was saying earlier, you know, we'll keep this thing, and if we can at least continue to justify cutting enough trees down to pay for itself maybe several times, then I think it will be a good investment, because obviously there will be some value that will remain in this vehicle, and so we will obviously sell that whenever we kind of get done with it. I don't know if we'll keep it all 3 years. It's possible that I may bore enough people that folks stop tuning in if I do too much logging, especially considering that I almost do no logging at all on my Let's Plays. So we'll just kind of see how that goes. But, you know, there's money to be made, and that's the name of the game. That is sort of the whole focus of this challenge, is to make money, but also, you know, be strategic about our business practices as much as possible. One thing, Rubber Burner, I sort of agree with you, and I think you said it in your stream that I watched yesterday. Oh, I didn't watch your stream, but I watched your recorded session. Was that, and I sort of agree with this, is that while we do want to do things as efficient as possible, meaning that we certainly don't want to pay for the maintenance of something if it's not going to be of benefit to us. But at the same time, I'm not going to squabble too much over daily maintenance costs, especially if it's something that I think will both aid me as well as aid the operation, the farming operation. I'm just not going to worry about it. Because I think that, you know, there's sort of I sort of have a philosophy that, you know, sometimes life is just too darn short to worry about something like that. And if I can justify both better efficiencies, if I can justify better efficiencies and stuff like that, even at a higher cost, especially if it's something that's going to get used a lot. And I think that, you know, I think maybe with the exception of the actual harvest season itself, the time that I will be spending in the combine, I think that this investment will be something that will get used almost every day, or at least every, you know, kind of every other day, because we have sort of we've cleared all the trees at the main farm, and then we've just kind of come down to this area here, and we're just going to kind of make our way around. And you know, there's still a ton of trees up in the mountains that we may or may not even need to get to. And of course, as I was telling folks in the stream at the very beginning, this kind of had a it's kind of have a twofold approach, because I won't lie, obviously it's darn good money, and then the other thing is that we cleared all the trees around the main farm, and of course that's going to allow us to basically expand those fields so that our crop yields next year should be essentially greater than what our crop yields were this year, and that's going to be a good thing, obviously. I don't think I'm in there. Good morning, Farmer Oops. Welcome to the stream. Glad to see you back again. Okay, I've gotten rusty all of a sudden. I had a pretty good rhythm going with this thing. Especially last night, I was really getting after it. But this morning, not so much. I blame it on the fact that the coffee has yet to sort of kick in. It does work much better in 17 than it did in 15. Now it'll be interesting to hear what your thoughts are on the stump grinder, because I think that the stump grinder actually worked better in 15 than it did in 17. There is sort of a in 15, if my memory serves me correctly, and of course I haven't done a whole lot of logging in either of the series, just simply because you know, I kind of view this as it's a farm sim game, and I kind of like that core theme about it. I kind of like doing the farming and probably less of the logging and stuff. But I have found that with the stump grinder, there is a sweet spot that isn't always directly over the physical stump itself. Sometimes it's off to the side, so you kind of have to, like I told Farmer Klein, you kind of have to waggle your that stump grinder around a little bit to find that sweet spot. And once you find the sweet spot, then the stump will go ahead and grind, and everything will be good. But until that happens, you're just going to be kind of grinding away, and it's not going to be throwing any sawdust up. Yet the grinder might be directly over the stump. And I think, if I remember correctly, I think pretty much that if you had the stump grinder over, I keep doing this, I keep getting too close to the tree. If you had the stump grinder over the stump in 15, it would potentially grind the stump away. But here in 17, it's a little bit off, and you know, you just have to kind of waggle it around. Now, I may or may not get to actually grinding these stumps around here. It just kind of depends on how I feel. But obviously, I will be grinding stumps all around the main farm, simply because I need that ground to be able to expand the fields, and so that's what I will be doing. Now, of course, Farmer Klein, he's you know, his strategy for forestry is sort of to get, well, both make money but also get to the grass underneath it, and so he's obviously grinding stumps pretty much. I think, there I go again, getting too close to the tree. I think he's pretty much grinding all of the stumps as he goes. And the way I figure it is, you know, I don't necessarily have to worry about grinding those stumps up around the main farm until, just so I have it done before spring of next year, so I can always grind some stumps in the wintertime, pending that I can see them, pending that we don't have so much snow on the ground that I can't see the stumps, but we'll see. Maybe there'll be some time to do some of that after the harvest. But the other thing that I'm sort of, you know, while I'm giving this thing my best effort in actually winning the challenge and gaining the bragging rights and all that stuff, even though I don't really think that there's going to be a whole lot of bragging rights, considering that I kind of do this for fun, and I think you guys are all probably much better farmers than I am. I'm going to leave that tree up there for now anyways. I am also taking the goal of making sure that I have fun in doing this. If it, if it gets to a point to where that it becomes a little bit of a chore to play this map, then obviously I will take some time off. Sort of like you, and you mentioned this in your stream as well. Your busy season is coming up later. I've got some travel that I've got to do. My boss told me about another trip that I'm going to probably have. And so with that being said, most of my work trips are at least 3 days, if not 4 days away from the house. And so I don't have any way of gaming, especially gaming and live streaming at the same time. I've got an older gaming laptop that will play Farm Sim 17 just fine, but it would not play the game and live stream at the same time from a hotel room with any degree of quality and all that kind of stuff. And so alright, we will clear these couple of trees here, and then I think we will haul some logs, I think. So I think that the ratio to logs and money seems to be in the neighborhood of about 70 trees, about 100,000, I think, $100,000, something like that. That's what I think I got on my first cutting. And of course, if you get lucky and get one of these big trees here that has lots of, it's nice and long, you obviously get lots of logs out of it. And I'm cutting everything at 8 meters. The longer the better, from what I understand, as far as how the mill pays for them. Yeah, the Brookson is pretty good. I enjoyed using that thing in Farm Sim 15, and that would almost, because obviously in 15 commodity prices for wood and all that kind of stuff are a lot different than they are in 17, and I would really use the heck out of that thing and almost always just pretty much grind everything. I wasn't hauling much of it. Alright, so we've kind of cut enough there. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so I think that possibly by the time I'm just going to park this guy kind of up here like that. He's probably going to roll backwards, but that's okay. Alright, so we will jump out here and go get in our log truck and pick some of this stuff up and carry it to the mill. Let's see what's going on in the chat. So Rubber Burner says, I'm excited to do it because it's something different, and for that reason I found it fun, but if I get burnt out, I'll also have to pull back. I don't want to start hating flights or Farm Sim. It's too important. I agree. That's why when I had such a rough go, Rubber, I don't know if you watched my first episode, but it did not look to me, if I were a viewer that did not know who I was and I was standing there and I was telling you I've got 500 hours in Farm Sim 17, I would think you were lying to me, because I just got so rattled, and I think it was I think it boiled down to the fact that did not, I really did not anticipate how playing at 15 times speed would sort of affect me. I'm sitting there, and it's not that I'm a slow person or anything like that. Obviously I like playing at my own pace and everything, but it time was getting away from me, and that sort of became a little bit of a psychological thing to me, just a bit. And I just sort of let it eat away at me, and I was sort of fumbling around and making mistakes and couldn't get things to work right, and time was just slipping away, and every time I looked at the clock it seemed like another hour had passed by, another hour and a half had passed by. It was starting to get dark, and but then, kind of once I've settled in and got my first day out of the way, and maybe the second stream was maybe a bit rocky, but I've kind of got into my own here, and the rhythm and everything, and the key is that here in the challenge itself, we can't fast forward time except from the hours of 9 p.m. to whenever seasons takes us out of that sleep mode, skip night mode. So obviously during the spring, it was about 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. was our work time, or 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. was our sleep time. Here, now that our days are longer, it has been starting us up in the day around 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. And so obviously the days are longer, and the streams are going to be obviously longer, because we're going to pretty much work till 9 o'clock at least. Last night I think we worked until about 11. But that's going to be sort of the deal. But I don't know, let's see, Brian James is talking about it grinds whole trees into chips. I don't know, I sort of thought about that. I thought, well, I sort of wonder what the commodity prices are for wood chips versus whole logs, and I think that maybe in this challenge, in this situation, I think maybe that whole logs is our better bet. And of course, we've got the gold nuggets that we can find, and that will give us $1 million, obviously, just like it would in any other map that has the gold nuggets. And I think we found about 4 of them, and that will also be a plan. We will get all of those gold nuggets before the end of the 3rd year. I'm not necessarily going to, if we stumble upon one, I'll pick one up. Like today, this morning, we went after 2 specifically when we were up at the store, and I will kind of do that when there's areas that I can remember where there's a gold nugget. I will kind of do that till we get to 10, and then once we get to 10, obviously we will see where all the gold nuggets are on the map, and we will go after those kind of as we want to, or as we can, and might even take advantage of maybe searching for more of those in the springtime, pending that we've got time to do that, because obviously in the spring our grass will be knocked back considerably, and they'll be easier to see. So maybe when we're looking for gold nuggets in the grassy areas, it might be a little quicker if we do it then. Obviously it would be almost impossible to find nuggets in the snow, so we won't even worry about that unless we take a flamethrower with us to melt all the snow around the general area. But no, that doesn't exist obviously in the game, so that was just a joke. But again, the key to this is kind of slow and steady, and the logs won't fly too too bad around. Try to get as many logs on here as we possibly can. And then sometimes it just makes sense for us to do this, just to kind of unload them and then restack them. Or at least unload the trouble ones and then restack. And sometimes they will fall into place a little bit better. Obviously that one didn't, but hey, you know, always are going to have the troublemaker, right? You're always going to have the troublemaker. There we go. Maybe we'll try to get these two over here, and then we'll take this load in. Try not to drive over this man's field. We don't own this field, and he's been nice enough to let us collect these logs around here, so we will try not to drive over his stuff. And we'll take this in. I use a joystick rubber burner for logging. I've got the Logitech Extreme Pro something or another. And I have two of them actually, and when everything is working well, two of them work really well with forestry. I don't have the second one connected only because I've kind of been switching back and forth between farm sim, truck sim, and flight sim. And of course, when I do flight sim, my yoke or my steering wheel and my shifter and my Logitech pedals, they all get put away. And because I've got a flight yoke and I've got rudder pedals and everything, and so everything is completely different. So I don't have the second joystick connected. If I were using your strategy, I would most certainly probably connect it, because then with both joysticks, I can, once I kind of get used to it again, I can really go to town with it. But I don't think it's going to. It's not going to be a big enough of a theme where I'm going to do this so much that I think I will just stick with the one for now. Alright, we could have got more on here, but that's okay. Let's see, rubber burner price for logs doesn't go down where wood chips would. That's what I'm looking at. Yeah, and that's the other thing. And so I think I asked this question last night in the stream, and I don't remember if anyone gave me an answer back, but I wasn't sure if the prices for logs dropped with the more that you brought to the mill. So that's good to know. Thanks for that tidbit. And I think that's gonna bode well for you in your overall strategy. And my gosh, man, I mean, there's so many trees. I know that I think that you had wondered whether or not that would be a long-term strategy for you, but there are just so many trees on this map that if you've got the time and the patience to do nothing but logging, and of course not all the trees are as big as the others, but still. And it will be interesting to see what you get out of the saplings that you're planting. Of course, they won't be full growth until 5 years, but I think you will be able to get something out of them after about 2 years. Won't be much, but it should be more than what you paid for them. Yeah, you're right. I mean, the right-hand stick, but it can, well, you kind of forget about it after a while. Come on, you know you want to get in there. These little guys are often the problem. nice big stack of logs here. I think this will probably take us 2 trips to get these guys to the mill. I load too fast. It loads at the speed that it loads. Again, as I was kind of talking about, if you don't drive, or at least if you don't drive very fast while it's loading logs up, they tend to go in a little bit better. But it's still the physics of farm sim. And I'm talking about the ground physics of farm sim that still causes things to kind of fly wherever they tend to want to go. And so sometimes they'll load nicely in the trailer, and you don't have to sort of do the unload and then load back up again. But then it kind of depends on just whether or not you want to maximize your efficiencies and everything so that you're hauling as much as you possibly can with each trip. And thank you for validating, Rubber Burner, thank you for validating the reason why I chose not to do more than 1 trailer. Watching you pull that road train of 3 trailers, that was making me nervous. And just from the simple fact that that was a pretty massive undertaking. And I think that you sort of agreed, or you sort of found out that, you know, you're going to be better off just doing 1 load at a time. Because I think even though you're ultimately going to have to make more trips, clearly, I think that the amount of time that you'll save from sort of loading those road trains and everything, you'll maximize that out with just making sure that you can load 1 trailer as full as you possibly can, and then go back for another load. In my Mountain Valley Farm series, where I had to basically cut trees down to basically be able to plow fields and everything, to find what my fields layout was. And granted, I only did like 1 episode of forestry because I didn't want to bore people too much, because I know that a lot of folks don't like forestry, but we don't have a choice here. So I appreciate those of you that have stuck by and watched now, I think, my 3rd episode where we're doing forestry. So I do appreciate that, I really do. But as the nature of the challenge, you know, being able for me to do things that are specific to my viewer needs or viewer wants and everything kind of goes out the window. But on Mountain Valley Farm, I eventually sort of got to a process where I would cut down trees, and I would essentially haul all those trees to the middle of one of my fields that I had yet to seed, and then just kind of pile everything there. And then I then would I would drive to that field, and I would essentially load the trailer up where I could just kind of pull up next to the logs and then hit the letter B, and it would start loading it up. And then I even used a courseplay route, and that worked out quite well. I'm not going to mess with courseplay routes here on the challenge on this map, simply because we're constantly moving to different places, and of course it takes time to set up the courseplay route. But the courseplay route kind of worked well for me on Mountain Valley Farm, only from the standpoint that what it sort of allowed us to do was I still had to, you know, I would start the courseplay route, I'd start the driver with courseplay, and he would drive to the cell point. And then of course I had to put a waypoint there, and then I would have to, you know, stop doing what I was doing, and then go over and sort of help him out. And man, I would like for that log to get. To get the stack. There we go. All right. Anyway, I would help that driver out. I would stop what I was doing and then go and then empty him, and then start him back up on his course play route. And that way I could like grind stumps and stuff like that. And it took him, it would take him about, oh, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes to drive from the main farm and then to the sell point. So I had like 4 minutes or 5 minutes or so to grind stumps or do whatever I was doing, and then it would take him about 4 minutes, 3 minutes to drive back. And so then I would go and grind stumps some more, and just kind of that back and forth. But it takes, you know, it takes a few minutes to set up the course when you're moving things around, and I just really didn't want to have to waste that time here with this challenge. But if you're playing in a, you know, in a non-challenge type format, you can certainly consider that, because that will help. That'll help with your progress and everything a little bit better. Brian James says, I stop and start loading 4 to 5 logs, then stop. When they settle, then another 4 to 5. Yep, that works well as well, and I've been kind of trying to do that. But I will admit that I sort of move my eyes over to my second screen where chat is, and kind of looking at chat and everything, and sometimes I think that's why the logs tend to get stacked up really weird, is because I'm trying to read the chat and get caught up with that. So it's kind of like a multi-ring circus, you know, for us to do this, at least for me. You know, you're playing the game and you're still trying to make sure you focus on the folks that's watching, because obviously that's what we should do. All right. And we will head back now. These Sunday drivers on a Monday. But it's, yeah, Brian says it would be hard when multitasking. You're right. Well, I mean, it's not hard. It's just different. It's just, you know, it's just focusing on different things. But it so makes it worth it, because if I'm playing the game, you know, by myself, or if I'm recording an episode where, you know, it's just a recorded episode, I'm not live streaming it, in other words, or if I'm playing off camera, then the time doesn't go by as fast. And when I'm live streaming and I've got a nice group of, you know, 8 or 9 or 10 or 11 or so folks that's watching the live stream, it's time goes by much quicker, because you guys are asking questions or commenting or whatever. We're talking about different things, and so the time tends to go by well. So we'll have to talk to those people back there and see if they'll let us have their trees, and we'll probably start this area here next, just because it's kind of still flat area, and it's easy to get to the mill down that road. Or I don't know, maybe we'll come down here and do some of these, but we'll figure out what we're going to do, and certainly get it all done. But I think that's all the logging that we're going to do for today. We've got another hour or so well, actually we've got another 30 minutes if we want to work, but I do need to go and just check on, our greenhouses over here. And we'll just park that guy under there and get out. I love that Mack truck. That is just super nice. All right, where's our other tractor? There it is. Okay, hang on. Let me turn this blinker off. That's gonna drive me crazy, watching this thing blink. All right. And normally I play with manual attach and stuff like that. I, just for the sake of time, I've cut some of that out. As much as I enjoy realism, and I often say, and I know I said this last night, that I try to play as realistic as the game allows me to play and what makes sense for me to spend time doing and playing. But at the same time, there's just certain elements that don't make realistic play possible. But for the sake of this challenge, I've kind of thrown a little bit of that out the window. However, I will also say that you know, I'm trying to also not do things like drive through fields and stuff like that. I am going to drive through that bush just because it's there, and it doesn't really hurt our old Ford tractor as I struggle to try to back this thing up. The repair mod. So the repair mod, Brian is asking about the repair mod. So there's basically there's a couple of different repair mods, and fill up. There is a repair mod that kind of does the same thing. And speaking of repair, I need to just check. Okay, 7 days until maintenance is required. There is a repair mod that kind of does similar to the built-in functions of the Seasons repair mod. That one most certainly does not work well with Seasons. It kind of defeats the purpose. But there is also, darn it, I did not see that rock there. There is also a repair mod that basically repairs the equipment back to better working condition. I won't say that it repairs it back to brand new condition, but it repairs it back to a better working condition where you can get a better resale value for that. It costs money to do that repair, as you would expect it to do in the real world. If you were to you know, take your tractor or something and go have it repaired, and then you want to try to sell it, and so that we can use that. I'm pretty sure we can. I know Farmer Klein used it on one of his videos. So I think unless it's disallowed at some stage, I think that I will most likely do that, because I think it gives you a little, it's not a, I mean, again, the value, the added value of doing it is not going to be huge. It's just maybe a % or two that you'll get a better price for it, but it's probably worth the cost. But we won't necessarily worry about that until we get further into the gameplay. Sweet spot on this water is there we go. All right, let me take a look at our animals right quick and just kind of see what we need to do. We've got wool coming up on 90%, so that's good. Ooh, our cleanliness is down. You know, I think I forgot to clean our animals yesterday. Oh my gosh. And most likely that is why our wool production is somewhat lower than it's been, because I forgot to do that. Shame on me. I've talked to you guys about this, that if you have these kind of things like animals or obviously if you have like the production, the greenhouses and stuff like that, if you neglect them, it's only hurting yourself, because if they're not being, if you're not cleaning up after your animals, if you're not keeping the greenhouses filled and that sort of stuff, like I said, you're kind of hurting yourself. So let's see how they're doing on hay. They're fine on hay, so we just need to go clean up after them. That's really all we need to do. And then we need to go put some manure in our greenhouse. Oops, I guess we had the forks under there. The forks on there. We don't need those. Yeah, basically, if you've got, if you've got things like, for example, with the repair mod, Brian, if it's the one that's very similar to what Seasons does, sort of built in. So if I look at F1, it tells me that I have 5 days until maintenance is required on this telehandler. So I have to, within 5 days, and we'll wait until it gets a little bit closer to obviously the 5 days, I can take this telehandler into the shop, into the main farm shop here on the main farm, and do the repair. And if I don't do the repair, then it could stop working, or it basically becomes a little bit slower or whatever. But if it's a similar mod that has similar functionality as Seasons, it will cause you some problems. The other thing is that, like, there's a couple of different growth growth manager kind of things out there. Those also will cause some problems with the Seasons mod. So you kind of have to sort of understand, okay, what does the Seasons mod do, and then not do any of these sort of competing types of mods. And definitely the growth manager, if you want to mess up your plants, your growth cycles and everything, putting another growth manager in there is not going to be your friend. Okay, these barrels, I knocked them over, and so they kind of went everywhere, but okay. All right, we'll run over here to the greenhouses and fill them up with manure. Looks like I left the headlights on the tractor on. And then also, if we have time, we'll drive that tractor back from the other field down there as well. So this little manure heap, and by the way, if you see a mod or something that I'm using on my channel, I've got a mod spreadsheet, and all these things are on that, so you can go and check that out. Just go to grizzlybearsims.com and you'll find my mod list. But that little manure heap there, that is a mod, and it's a manure buy point. So obviously we don't have any cows, we don't have anything on our farm that produces manure. We've got sheep, but they don't produce manure that we can actually use. And so you can get that little manure buy point and basically fill it up. And of course you have to pay for each shovel of manure that you get out of it. And but we can use that. Sort of think about it as, we're buying manure from other farmers, and obviously we're paying for it a bucket at a time, but anyway, it's not free. We're not getting an advantage over anyone else. It's just that we don't have any other manure producing ways of getting manure other than that, and so that's what we're doing. All right, we might just have enough time to get that tractor back up here. from the other field before midnight. We need to do that before midnight because if we wait until after midnight, then we basically can't skip the night. And if we can't skip the night, then we have to work through the night. And again, you could do that. We could work 24. You know, the stipulations of the challenge is basically that you just do these game days in 15x speed and everything. But at the same time, I'm trying to stick to realistic things in the sense that, oops, sign. I was trying to read chat in the sense that farmers, the human being cannot do too many consecutive days without sleep before health issues begin to set in and all that kind of stuff. So trying to stick with realistic stuff like that is best to go. So let's see. Smitty, welcome to the channel, welcome to the stream. Smitty is watching through Twitch. So I tell you what I need to do. I need to start talking about the word of the day, and my apologies because I have not forced you all, I have not waited this late in the video before telling you what the word of the day is. The word of the day for today is going to be fertilizer. Today's word of the day is fertilizer. So with that word of the day, what you can do is you can essentially, we're going to hop around here and go turn the headlights off on that tractor. The word of the day, you'll get the information down below the video on how you enter the contest. The contest is I'm giving away 3 copies of the new Giants expansion package that's coming out in November. It's going to introduce some more equipment, and it's going to introduce a new crop type, and it's going to introduce a new map. And I'm just going to save the game right quick, and you can register pending that you listen for the word of the day each and every episode. And today's word of the day is fertilizer. Again, the word is fertilizer. And let's go ahead and alt in to pass through and rest for another day at the farm. So it is 4:45 in the morning. Again, the days are longer in the summertime than they are in the spring and fall and winter. But of course, that is normal, right? And so I'll go ahead and quit the game. And I am going to go upstairs, and I am going to get me another cup of coffee, and I am going to come back downstairs, and we're going to do, I think, another stream, unless I get upstairs and the wife is already up and ready for me to start the honeydew project. So I suppose if I don't come back online in about 10 minutes, then you know that I got recruited to do something other than play a farm sim for you guys. But if the stream pops back up in about 5 minutes time, then you know that I will do another episode. So let me just record the word of the day here in my spreadsheet. Fertilizer, okay, and then save that. So episode number 8, the word is fertilizer. And so I will be back, and I will end this stream because I need to end it so that YouTube will basically consider that an episode. And then I will be back unless I get recruited to do something else. So give me about 5 minutes, and again in 10 minutes, if I'm not back, then you know that I've got to go out and start the honeydew list. So take care, folks, and I will be back hopefully. If not, I will be on tomorrow or maybe this evening. See you for now. Bye-bye.